So today on the Explore Amarillo podcast, we're going to be talking to Bobby Lee, the owner of the Big Texan, and also my dad. So hey, how you doing, Bobby?
The co-owner,
Co-owner, that's right. It's you and Danny.
right?
It's
Today we're
my dad and my
talking,
uncle that own and operate the Big Texan today.
right?
Yeah. So, we usually talk on the 72-ounce steak table inside the Big Texan, but now we have a nice podcast studio where we can do this kind of thing.
Oh, it is with luxury boxes and
There's no
valet
plates.
parking
Yeah,
and
there's no
and
plates breaking in the background in the kitchen while we're in the middle of a sentence.
no noise, no exhaust hood noise, or no smelling like a steak when you get done with the podcast. It's pretty nice. It
Yeah.
really is.
Not only that, but sometimes whenever me and my dad would go to shoot some of those videos, we had people wanting to do the 72-ounce steak challenge. So we would have to take all the equipment off the stage and set back up in the morning. We'd usually shoot in the morning just because of that, right?
Yeah, but at the restaurant, I mean, at any time of the day, I mean, we used to open for breakfast at 6 o'clock. We'd have people waiting in their cars for 2 hours to try the 70-pound steak at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. And it's funny. I mean, recently we started doing breakfast again, right? And so we open at 8 o'clock. And one of the issues has been people coming in right at 8, but we don't even have baked potatoes cooked yet because the baked potatoes take an hour to cook.
Yeah.
And so we just sub it out with breakfast potatoes. But I was sitting there like, man, when have we ever had this issue of so many people doing the 72-ounce steak?
Well, I mean, it's the thing. I mean, it's the 15 minutes of pure stardom for a lot of people that they feel that they're up there and they're going, wow. And plus to be able to be seen from the whole world. I mean, Big Texan, the 70-pound steak live cam. I mean, we have people betting in Tibet, India
Yeah,
about
you know what's crazy? They came out with an app. I think it's called Polymarket. And dude, you can bet on anything. Like you can go on and I think you can set up like a bet and then literally on anything. I bet you could do a 72-ounce steak challenge and then people on the app see that and they take you up on that bet. Isn't that crazy? People can do that now. Like anyone can do it.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's I bet you people start doing that with the 72-ounce steak, like what you're talking about. I bet you on that app will start popping up.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, if they're doing that, I mean, can you imagine? This is just the start of that.
Yeah.
I mean, people do that all over the place, and you know what? It'll make the need for live shots and that type thing real important, especially in something like, ours that is so set up so well in that. I bet
Well,
you you'd
I
see a lot
almost
of that.
feel the responsibility because then you sit there and, we judge it, if it's gristle or fat, like we don't count it or the skin on the baked potato. But if there's money on the line, I mean, you would really have to sit there and make sure, you regulated it, I guess, tighter than what we normally do, right?
Yeah, well, the thing about it, when Molly was doing the $5,000 challenge for three of them, and we had three steak eating teams going against her, we were real concerned about them. What if they're real close for $5,000? I mean, it's going to be a real
Yeah.
serious deal. How are we going to make sure it's weighed right, it looks right, and that we're fair on all the judging and everything? And we were worried about that, but none
No
of
one got even
none of the
close.
three teams did even one 72-ounce steak, and in 20 minutes before they even finished, two people eating one steak, and they 35 minutes, I think one group did, but
Yeah.
other than that, though, it wasn't close anywhere.
And see, it's funny you had that idea because I had an idea that, we would do a pool, right? So if we had someone come up, try the 72-ounce steak, and they fell, their money goes into a pool, and it just keeps on pooling up with all the failures, and eventually the next winner would take all, right? But then
Yeah.
it's the exact same thing, the regulation. Oh, well, I had so much gristle, and you guys didn't count that gristle. And whenever you get up in that kind of like, let's say it's like $5,000, then you feel a lot of pressure and responsibility to make sure that this steak was the exact same size of steak as their steak was. It was the same size baked potato. I mean, there was so much, what would you call it? I guess just a regulation.
Oh,
And
well,
the
so you
scrutiny
say
you'd be under.
$5,000. If you had $50 up there,
Yeah,
they'd be fighting on it. I
they
mean,
would.
clamoring and we'll keep it simple,
Yeah.
just like it's been for 65 years, and leave it at that, because I can't even imagine that. And just the pressure of that one day with Molly. I mean, my God, that
I
was,
know.
and thank God everybody else was so far behind on it that they didn't have a chance of doing it. So,
Yeah.
man.
One thing people always talk about is the price of the 72-ounce steak challenge. We only charge $72. And we have sat there and talked about going up on that price, but we've had that price since how long?
For about 9 years now, but one thing about it, what you don't understand is I remember when my dad started this thing, it was
That's
$6.50,
crazy.
and it went up $9 and 12, and we always felt a little weird about it, $20, $22. And, 75, 72 seemed like a good number, but now I'm just, I don't know, and even with the meat prices, it's a bargain what they're getting for
Oh yeah.
$72. I mean, I'm glad that we have it to where that if a group comes in, wants to order it for the table, that it's meant for contest only, and we've always stuck to that. We've always stuck to the same rules, and we've always been very, very fair about the way we've conducted the contest, that
Yeah.
it is
Well, it's all for fun. That's
we
the
we
whole
hope it
point.
is, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's but, sometimes these people get so serious and so nervous about it. I'm just going, just
Take it
have fun with
easy.
it. Just have fun with it. If you feel like you're gonna be sick, you will be s you're gonna be sick. That's
Yeah.
what your body's telling you, and
I
that's what people don't understand.
every time I'm up there, I tell people that, and it's like, if you feel like you're gonna get sick, I promise you, you're gonna get sick. Like,
Yeah.
there's no avoiding it. Just stop.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like $72 isn't gonna be life changing money. You're just
Mhm.
having a good time. Don't. I mean, some people really take it serious.
Yeah. Well, that's it's a lot of pressure for some people to get up there. I mean, when they're sitting there thinking about all these people watching from all
Yeah.
over the world, all over America, their friends, they've emailed all their friends, they've texted them all, said, Big Texan not live.
Yeah.
It's crazy for them. And then they get in front of a full dining room with people, cat calling you up there and stuff like that. I mean, that's some pressure.
Yeah, as long I wish people would just have fun with it, and that's all it's about. It's not okay. Great, you got a free steak and a free T-shirt. You're gonna get a free T-shirt whether you win or lose, right?
Yeah.
So, as long as people are having a good time with it, I think that's the whole point. But one thing we wanted to talk about today, a lot of people, I'm pretty sure it's still on TripAdvisor, but the Big Texan used to do a lot of almost shows and performances in the actual dining room, and a lot of people don't know that.
No, it was a big thing. I'm gonna use the word pre-karaoke is when it all started back in 1991. We had this idea about doing a talent type show, and because there was a lot of people, that we'd see come in, and our musicians, they would want to sing with the musicians. They get up, say, "Can I sing a song with you?" And I'd hear them singing songs, and I just had that crazy idea. Plus, there was a lot of things that were aligned to where it would aid in this thing. I
Mhm.
remember the radio station here, KGNC. They were switched formats, and they had some new morning team from a rival radio station here in town, and they were really wanting to push that. And I mean, they were real flexible, and they were wanting to have a live music show,
Mhm.
something that featured local talent. So they really liked the idea of it. Eh,
So it was called the Big Texan Opry, and what you would do, you would go out to surrounding areas and kind of advertise, come into the Big Texan. If you're a singer, you come in and sing and compete, and you'd hold it inside the dining room. And man, we did that for so long. I remember, being a kid, and the place was so different back then. And instead of people being up on the stage eating the 72-ounce steak, they were up there singing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Well, the one thing about it we stayed away from is making it a competition. We had several different sponsorships, anywhere from the KGNC radio station, like I mentioned earlier, to a recording studio over in one of the shopping malls here. There was a lot of influential things that were going on at the time, and nobody really knew what karaoke was. And what we did is we initially started off by having people send in audition tapes. And we thought, well, this would be a good way to test to see if there
Gotta
is
be
any
so hard.
interest.
You're sending in VHS tapes back
Oh,
in the day.
oh, and I tell you what, we've seen a lot of really
I wonder
strange
if we still have
things.
that.
And I'm sure we still got some of them. I mean, kid stuff, adult stuff, team stuff. I mean, we saw some stuff that did not belong. It was inappropriate altogether. I mean, there was one
And
girl in the
people just
bathtub
milling.
singing. I remember
Oh my
that one. We
god.
and so we thought, well, let's do
Oh,
this. We wanted to involve the entire Texas Panhandle, and we wanted to do it on our slowest night of the week. And we went back and looked at 10 years of history at the Big Texan as far as numbers of guests that came to eat. And Tuesday night was the slowest night of the week.
mm,
We said, let's try it because that's what we were trying to do. In my dad's passing in 1990, we wanted to come back with more entertainment at the Big Texan. And the Opry seemed like such a perfect deal, and using the morning teams as the MCs of the show, which is very important in some show like that because your pace and your flow and your introductions of guests had to be perfect. So what we did is we set it up to where on the first Sunday of every month between 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, they could come to the Big Texan. We had open auditions, and we made it real rough on them. We just said, here, fill this out, and you're number 14. When we call your name, you go up on the stage and give us your music track, your
This
backing
is
track.
inside the dining room.
This was inside the dining room with a cassette tape. That's what they used. And trying to cue that tape like they get introduced. This is Sammy John from Freona, Texas. And it would
This was
be,
an audition, so it wasn't even a competition.
no,
So you had guests inside the restaurant while they were
we
auditioning?
have 50, 60 people in for audition, and plus their entourage that they would bring a lot of people in to make a lot of noise to where, oh, this, they must be really, really good. But we made them try to feel as uncomfortable as possible to see if they were able to hold up in that type of condition because we had no idea what to expect. We didn't give them a lot of stage lights or anything else, and we just let them go up there to see what their talent was, which
So would you
made a
guys
big
play
difference.
music in the background that they would sing to, or
Well,
they just
they
sang
would know.
straight out?
They would bring their music with
Oh,
them,
okay.
and it was on a cassette.
God, it's
And
crazy,
you'd have
dude.
to wind that thing down, and then the sound man would put it in there and just push it, and you hear that hiss, and all of a sudden the music would start, and they would be up there, and there was 2 monitors on the stage that they could hear the music coming off. And I mean, we saw a lot of people up there that just froze like a deer in the headlights.
It was American Idol at the Big Texan.
It was, and this was before any of that stuff was out there. So we hit it right at the right time. I mean, and this thing, it ran for 10 solid years, solid numbers on Tuesday. It became our biggest day of the week, Tuesday. In fact, it became so big that we used to run 2 shows a night. But we would book all 4 shows for that month off that Sunday because we'd always had that many people there. And we would try to do it to where we encompass the entire Texas Panhandle, not just Amarillo, not just Canyon or West Texas theatrical kids. We got, Little Nell from Stratton, Texas to come up, to do that. Then we'd fire out press releases to Stratton, Texas. Little Nell's made it on the Big Texan Opry. And then also on Tuesday night, if you want to come see her and cheer her on, make sure you get your reservations. And we would fill 200 reservations for every show, even when we were doing 2 shows during the real busy times of the year. And, we kept a variety of music to where it just wasn't all love songs or ballads. I mean, we wanted a lot of variety. Some of the people would come up with their own guitars, their keyboards, and they would play it up there, but they knew they only had a little bit of time when they got on stage. And we would always tell them they would have to do 2 songs during the show. And the first one, we'd want their slower song. And the second part of the show, we wanted it a faster song.
So would the ticket include admission and like a meal? Or
There was no ticket to it. The only thing is if you took up a table, you had to buy a dinner.
Okay.
And we really never had any problem with somebody that said they didn't want to do that. I mean, they were excited about being there, and all the people that were on the Opry would come to the shows. I mean, it was wall-to-wall people. It was difficult to run the restaurant during this time because it was that crowded. It was crazy. And the performers were amazing. I mean, some of them went on to, bigger and better things. No one ever made it
Well, the
big.
coolest thing that we ever heard, and the story is whenever it was at a fundraiser we did, right, with Kevin Fowler, Randall King, and Aaron Watson. Yeah, and then Randall King, after the show, he came into the office and he said, "Hey, you're Bobby Lee. Do you remember me? I won the Opry whenever I was 14 years old."
Yeah, he said it was the first place he'd ever played that before that he got up there, so we saw a lot of that stuff. And what was neat is that the word got out to Nashville, and a lot of the bands, we've always had a lot of luck at the Big Texan, seeing a lot of big name people and a lot of bands going through the area that stop and eat with us. This time, it kind of got around to my Opry director, Naomi Nelson, bless her soul. She was the greatest lady we had that made that show for us. She really was. But she had enough sense that that when big name people would call, and say, "Hey, here you have this show on Tuesday night. We're going to be coming through. Will you take care of my crew, and I'll feed you for it?" And she asked me if that was all right to do, and I said, "Why? Who you got coming in?" She says, "Well, we're not supposed to tell anybody. That was part of the agreement, but we have Tammy Wynette coming in." And this was a year before she died, and she came in with her road crew and did a song and sat down and ate. on the Big Texan Opry. We also had Clint Black
Yeah.
come in. His nickname was Blackie. We had the guy that sings "Looking for Love." We've had Tommy Overstreet. I mean, we had so many big name people that kind of sneak in on Tuesday night for us to be in the Big Texan
See, I
Opry.
never knew that. You know, you
Yeah,
talking about, man, I almost want to start it up again, but I just know,
I thought about it, but now there's
yeah,
there's karaoke and there's karaoke
yeah, but
clubs
to
and
be
there's
able, inside that dining room at the Big Texan, I mean, I don't doubt how special that would be.
it
But
really
it's just,
was.
the business we have now, can you imagine? Man, you really want to do it though, you know?
I do. In fact, we were wanting to do it at Starlight initially, but then I thought, we get the karaoke people coming in.
Right.
And I remember we had a couple karaoke nights, and I've never been around karaoke until we tried it out here. And I remember we had a farm and ranch group that was doing their fundraiser that weekend, and they had brought in all those baby goats. And the baby goats were in the back, and the pins in the back behind Starlight, and we were using the small stage for this karaoke thing.
Yeah.
And some of those people that got up there to do that, I thought it was those goats that were yelling and screaming up there, and it was those people up on the stage singing that karaoke. So I thought, if we get that mixed up with that and have to put up
Well,
with,
it sounds like the Opry, you would vet these people. I mean, you would make sure, like, hey, if you're gonna sing, you're gonna be like a good singer. Not only to mention, back then having to do auditions on a VHS tape probably wasn't the best. I mean, if you had,
cassette tape,
yeah, cassette tape, yeah.
yeah.
If you could have people send in videos of them probably performing on other stages. I mean, at least you would vet them so it's not just like karaoke kind of crowd. They would, you'd make sure they were talented and worthwhile of putting it up on the stage. Man, it really does sound like
Oh, it was terrifying for some of those people because it was the first time they were out in front of people. And I remember this one gal, let's see, she was from Clovis, New Mexico, and she had come in and she brought a big group in with her. But I mean, I don't know how she did it. She got up on stage and I kept hearing this knocking noise like this, like that. And I kept looking around to see if it was in the speaker system of the monitor. I was, what the heck is that knocking noise? And I
mm,
kept looking. And then I looked up on the stage and it was her knees.
no shit.
It was knocking
Damn.
together, and she was on that wood floor up there, so it was making that knocking noise. But yet
She probably had bruises on her knees, dude.
she sang, but she was amazing. But she was just terrified of doing that. And before it was all said and done, she did 2 or 3 times that she was on the Big Texan Opry.
Yeah.
That she did, and Naoma, my Opry director, we made up little pins that every time that they were on the Opry, they got one of these little pins, and those were highly cherished pins, and it
Mm.
said Big Texan Opry on it with the boot on it.
I think I remember those.
Yeah, and then the first year anniversary, you did a big commemorative poster. I think you showed it on the screen right now. That had everybody that was in the Big Texan Opry, and I mean, you would see big name people, Michael Martin Murphy, Clint Black. Those names were up there
Yeah.
because they were on the Big Texan Opry, qualified for it. And I remember when we reached our 100th show, it was a big deal when we reached 100th. And I remember when it started going from cassette tape over to CD.
Yeah.
So we thought we were really advancing. It was really nice for the sound guy because, like I said, when that sound guy pushed that play on that cassette, that would start going, and it would take sometimes, 10, 20 seconds for that thing to cue. And here was this person terrified up there
Oh
waiting
God,
for
I
the
could,
music to
yeah,
start. Yes, so
just
it was,
room of silence,
God, it
and
was challenging. It was so challenging. We had a great sound system. We spent some money on a real nice sound system to where the sound was great, but it was amazing with the dining room of the Big Texan. Even if somebody was trying the 72-ounce steak, they couldn't sit on the stage. We put them beside there,
right.
and the MCs would go out there and talk to them about eating the
Oh
72-ounce steak.
yeah,
And
dude.
it
Oh my
was it was just
gosh.
it was a totally different atmosphere, and it was one of those things that to experience that in the Big Texan dining room, it was really neat, and led to Michael Martin Murphy doing his Christmas show out there.
Yeah.
The Asylum Street Spankers. We started doing entertainment in the main dining room because we were trying to find ways of increasing the business.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know, but I mean, back in the day, the Big Texan wasn't as popular as it is now. Like we've been around for 66 years,
Mhm.
um, but I remember you saying that we'd barely ever use the upstairs.
Barely ever
Yeah,
used it. Maybe on the weekends, 4 or 5 weekends out of the year in July.
yeah,
And now every night. I mean, it's just all the stuff that we used to do back in the 90s to build up business, and anything from the haunted houses we did in the palace to the Opry. It was all on, getting customers back in and getting the Big Texan word back out there
Yeah.
about that. It was part of the increase that we did starting back in the 90s when my
So,
dad died.
so when did it stop? When did the Opry? Like you said, it went on for 10 years. Like, when was the time where it was like, okay, this has run its
It
course?
started in 1993, and it ran till about 2001. It just like around 2001, it was kind of it had reached the point, and there was so many karaoke groups going on, and it wasn't what it used to be. It reached a point, and it was time for it to end.
Mm,
It was sad for Naomi. I felt bad for her because, like, she loved the show and she did such a great job on it. But everything has its time and place, and it was kind of time for it to move on.
yeah.
And there was a lot more entertainment. There was a lot more nightclubs. The live music scene in Amarillo really picked up during that time because of the popularity of the Opry. And in fact, we even got uh, a free trip out to Nashville, and they took us backstage at the Grand Ole Opry, and they were trying to get their hands on some of our better performers.
Yeah. That's
That some of the sharks out there, we learned about the sharks, and we were warned about them. In fact, it was so funny because they took us to the Grand Ole Opry backstage, and the stars on the show would tell us, "Hey, you watch out for the guy you're with.
really.
They're just a talent shark. They're just out trying to get that." So we were told about that. I mean, we didn't even know about that, but we had a great time out in Nashville, and got a lot of good contacts, and that's what essentially started a lot of the big name performers coming through Amarillo performing on the Big Texan Opry stage.
Well, see, you compared to karaoke, but to me, it didn't sound like that. It sounded like it was actually like good performers. I mean,
It was.
yeah, and you're like, we couldn't do it today because like there's so many karaoke places. But man, everything you're saying, it sounds like there's some potential there. We'd have to do it after hours, like start the Opry at like 10:30 after we normally close. But man. It sounds like it'd be a lot of fun, and everything you're saying, man, just makes me want to do it again. It
It
really
really was.
does.
It was wholesome. I mean, Naomi ran a real strong, no drinking show. In fact, I think I was the
No
worst person
drinking.
out there. No, she didn't allow anybody to have drinks in the dressing room, and they all said a prayer beforehand, and all talked about what the show was going to be, who's on first, and the lineup of them, to where they all stood in line, and when it was their turn, that they would go on. Very well organized, and at the very end of the show, Hugh Harris, our old fiddler player, would go up on the stage and always end the show with the Orange Blossom Special, and then finish off with Rocky Top. And we had a clogging group that would come out.
I remember them.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were out there, and they would clog the end of the show, and they'd clog midpoint on it in the opening of the show. And then they would all go off, and there'd be a big receiving line. So everybody, after the show was over with, everybody would get up from the dining room, go out and shake all the performers' hand and get pictures made with them. So,
Yeah.
like I said, it was a quality show, and it's amazing how big it was during the time of it, and that it was on live on radio and replayed on radio, that people could listen to the show if they couldn't make it. I mean, it was that important to him. It was the last of its kind.
See, I'm surprised. I'm surprised you wouldn't sell tickets to it. That's kind of what I'm surprised to hear. But you were banking on them coming in and eating.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And the performers, they didn't get paid for it. They got, recognition from
mhm.
it, and got the little pin, and got their name on the poster. So it was never anything that we wanted to, it wasn't that type thing, because there was no revenue share on anything with the performers. It was just strictly that. And we saw other Opries in the Texas Panhandle open up. We saw a lot of different restaurants copy,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
the
but
meat tours, as we call them.
the Big Texan dining room, man, you just go in there and I mean it would fit so perfectly. I mean, just the
Yeah.
balcony and the curtains and the stage. I mean, I just couldn't think of another place that could even copy that or come close to it.
No, it was kind of a sad story that one of the performers that wanted to be on every week, and they wanted to do more and more, and they were Naomi pretty much told them no, and they got mad, and they were going to go start their own Opry. So they got a couple of the performers, and they went over to a small restaurant on the other side of town and decided they were going to start their own Opry. And it didn't last 2 weeks,
Yeah,
two
the
shows.
Big Texan, there's so much character in there.
Well, it's like a big roaring fire.
Yeah,
You think, I'm going to take the stick out of there, and I'm going to go start my own fire over there, and then
it
it
just
didn't work.
fizzles
It didn't
out.
work.
Yeah,
The ambiance of the Big Texan, the time that we did it in, like I said, there was just a lot of things that it was just done exactly like it should have been done, and we got rewarded for it. I mean, 10 years of just incredible times in there, and we were all concerned about, well, if these people are coming in, they're going to order something, they're going to order a baked potato and sit there and take up,
Yeah.
drink water. But we looked at the check averages, and they were great, they were phenomenal. Everybody came in and rediscovered the Big Texan, and that's what really boosted it into the level it was. I mean, it got the word back out. The food's great again. The service was good. They got great entertainment,
Mhm.
and it helped the Big Texan dramatically because it really needed that to be reintroduced to Amarillo on a different level, and then the surrounding Panhandle.
It's such a crazy idea. So whenever your dad died, you're like, "Hey, how about we start doing?" I mean, how'd you come up with that idea? Because no one was doing it at the time. There wasn't American Idol. It was more or less almost a talent show, and you just saw it like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put this in the dining room of the Big Texan."
I just looking for ideas, and the Big Texan was in such bad financial shape, and customer account wise, it was bad. It was really a very bad time for the Big Texan, and I don't know, I always loved this old saying. It said, when you sleep on the floor, you don't have to worry about falling out of your bed.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like that. I mean, I better throw as much as I can up on the ball and see what sticks. And that was one thing with the entertainment. I knew the entertainment. I knew my dad loved the entertainment, but his physical health condition and going down to Lubbock, prevented him from doing a lot of stuff he wanted to do at the Big Texan. And I felt a big opportunity to do that with, trying to explain to the other brothers and sisters what I wanted to do with it. They didn't really get it. But after it started rolling, they realized, wow, that was really good. But it wasn't just for the moment. Like I said, what it did for the Big Texan as far as bringing it back to
Mhm.
people saying, wow, this isn't just a tourist trap. It's a really good restaurant. They got really good food, and they do a good job on everything, and they care about their customers. So
Yeah.
that was a big deal for it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence. You said in 2001, that's whenever it fizzled out. Because in 2001, that's whenever Man versus Food came out, right?
Yeah, it was about
Yeah.
that time. Yeah.
And being a kid, just being able to pick up on things, it seemed like after that episode of Man versus Food, like the Big Texan grew and grew from that. And that was like a big moment for us. And a lot of people don't know it, but that was the pilot episode of Man versus Food.
Yeah, that was the very first one, and this was the very first food challenge that he did, which was a great honor. I mean, it really was. I mean, there's food challenges everywhere, but for
Oh,
them
it's
to
huge now.
recognize us, yeah. And he even said that, this is the Stanley Cup of everything. This is the holy grail. I
Yeah.
mean, if you can do this, it's really good. And it really brought out the competitive eaters, which was a big step for the Big Texan to be recognized as the granddaddy of all that. So that
Yeah.
made a big difference. That was one of those next step ups for the Big
It
Texan.
was a huge, huge moment. And how lucky are we that we were the pilot episode,
Yeah.
And then that show, I mean, people still talk about that. Oh,
Hmm.
the Adam Richmond, that Man versus Food, he came in here. I always hear that at the bar.
Yeah.
And now, it's all the different competitive eaters that have come in and eaten. And man, the list goes on and on with competitive eaters. They always pop up. There's probably countless
Yeah.
competitive eaters online now.
Well, that opened the door to so much media attention too. I mean, that's when we had CBS Sunday Morning come in. That's when we were the Rush Limbaugh show. There were so many other shows that spun off that of what we were doing there. And it led to, Here Comes Molly, with this,
Yeah.
Eating Three. I mean, there was just so much attention given on international gluttony, these
Mhm.
gluttony contests.
You
It's
know
just
what?
crazy.
I think the craziest thing about Molly is that Molly came in the first time she ever came in, she ate two 72-ounce steaks. And there wasn't, I don't think like YouTube was even a thing, barely a thing, right? So the video of her that went actually viral for back in the day, it was being emailed around. It wasn't
All
being,
right.
yeah, I don't even think it was originally on YouTube, but everyone knew about it, and I think it was on like Yahoo at the
Uh-huh.
time. And I mean, it was like viral, viral. And in fact, people know her for eating the two 72-ounce steaks versus her coming back and eating three. They know her for the two instead of just eating the three, which I think, honestly, whenever you hear someone ate three 72-ounce steaks, you're like, yeah, right. There's no way. I mean, it's unbelievable, but she actually did it. But I would say she's more famous for eating two that first time than
Oh,
her coming
weird.
back eating three. Because, dude, at the bar, whenever people bring it up, like, oh yeah, that girl, she's the one that ate two, and I'm like, well, she actually ate three. And then I mean, they just can't believe it, especially the time she did it in. It's just,
I still can't believe it, and I
me
stood on the
either.
stage and watched her to do it. I mean, it just didn't register, I mean, we had a lot of trying to keep the show part of the promotion going was, talk and color and stuff, but, I mean, I think there was times that I remember I was up there trying to moderate the thing and try to, do the color for the DJ we had in, but I mean, there was times that I found myself just staring, looking at her like is it not, I looked, I remember looking at Danny. I said, "This is number 3, right?"
Yeah,
I mean, I couldn't believe that she had done 2 like that,
it's insane.
and the way she did it, I mean, it was just, that's a whole 'nother story. But once again, part of the entertainment at the Big Texan, whether it's somebody up on stage singing or somebody up on the stage eating a 72-ounce steak, I mean, it's just a 3 rings of entertainment, and
Yeah.
that's the one thing that I hope that we will never let down. I don't know what's under that next rock that we're gonna turn over and say, "Oh my god, look what we found with this deal." I remember when we put the rattlesnake in the gift shop, that was a big deal, and once again, little things that just keep adding up, more and more of this absurd stuff that people talked about, and I
That's the
hope.
thing. A lot of this stuff, it kind of just finds itself. We can't sit there and be like, well, in 10 years, like, we'll probably be doing this. Like most of the time it's these little incremental changes, and then all of a sudden you stumble upon something that's just like the next thing, you
Yeah,
know?
it is,
Yeah.
and people always ask the question, they say, "Where do you find these people?" And my response is, "They find us." I
Yeah.
mean, just like the guy with a 500-pound Siberian tiger, they were on their way to Florida to make a movie,
Yeah.
and he came in, and Danny was up on a ladder, I was holding the ladder, and he says, "What's the fastest time on eating that steak?" And I said, "The pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds, Frank Pastore, he did it in 9.5 minutes." He goes, "Well, I got something outside that can beat that." And Danny and I went out there and looked, here's this damn tiger going to a movie set, and he wanted to bring it into the restaurant, and this is
No
when the Oprah
way.
trial was going on in Amarillo,
Yeah.
and I mean, the place was just shoulder to shoulder people, you couldn't move in there,
S-
and he's wanting to bring this 500-pound killing machine into the restaurant on a dog leash.
Yeah, no way. There's no way, man. I
No,
don't care
no,
what
no.
that they probably put it on some type of sedative or something, but there's no freaking way. But you say that, and you did have Grizzly Adams bring what, 3 bears
I
or
didn't know there was gonna be 3 bears,
yeah.
and I don't know if they were really vegetarians either, until they started eating the strawberry shortcakes, but you never know what you're gonna see in there. That's one thing about it is, when you unlock that door in the morning, you never know what's gonna happen there that
Yeah,
day, and
yeah,
that's what's always fun about it because you're in the middle of nowhere, and you got all these 80,000 people a day coming by there stopping and eating, and you're
yeah,
just going, "What's next? What's next?"
yeah. All right, let's wrap it up. I think that was good. Yep.
Good.
All right, thanks.